a decision that has millions of students and families on tender hooks. Will there or won't there be Class 12 CBSE exams held this year? And if so, in what format and when? Well, a high-level meeting to take a final decision regarding the holding of CBSE Class 12 exams and other entrance tests took place today. State governments have been asked to send in their suggestions by the 25th of May to the Education Minister for consideration before a final decision is taken by the 1st of June. The virtual meeting with various stakeholders was chaired by the Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. The Education Minister called it an attempt to arrive at an informed, collaborative decision at the earliest. He tweeted later that the meeting was extremely fruitful as many immensely valuable suggestions were received. So, what are these suggestions? Can they be executed? How feasible are they? States like Maharashtra, which have borne the brunt of the COVID-19 cases, have asked that the non-examination route for Class 12 students be actively examined. Delhi and Kerala governments suggested vaccinating all students before the exams. Is that possible? Delhi today stopped its vaccinations for those in the age group of 18 to 45. Remember, also a large section of students and parents have been demanding the cancellation of the board exams this year. The hashtag cancel board exams and hashtag CBSE has been trending. It was trending on Twitter as this meeting was underway. So, can there be an alternative that assesses learning outcomes and ensures academic integrity, accessibility, fairness and equity? Well, joining us on the show, we have Dr. Sudha Acharya. She's the principal of the ITL school and the secretary for the NPSE, that's the National Progressive Schools Conference. Dr. Shiny Matthew, principal of the Jawahar Central School in Thiruvananthapuram, also the Thiruvananthapuram's CBSE City Coordinator, which has 145 schools under it. Kavita Das, principal of the St. John's School in Chandigarh, and Dr. Jagpreet Singh, the headmaster of the Doon School. We'll also have parents and students joining us. But first, Dr. Sudha Acharya, you were part of the 10 school principals with whom the CBSE chair consulted for their opinion ahead of this meeting with the Education Minister. What exactly has been proposed by the CBSE?
Yeah, a very good evening to all of you. Actually, in the meeting, CBSE chairperson asked for our opinion. If at all exam can be conducted and if it would be conducted in what format. So we, all of us principals, we could think together and we have given certain suggestions. The format of the CBSE exam, if it is happening, of course, the safety is at most important for our children and our parents, our teachers. But we have suggested certain format, how it can be smoothly conducted for the academic welfare of our students.
So what exactly were those suggestions, ma'am?
Yeah, number one, we were suggesting that the exam should be conducted in the home center, in the same school. So if I have only 200 students in class 12, so I would be taken care of only 200 students and parents would have better understanding and faith and clarity. I can follow all the COVID protocols, maintaining social distancing and all sanitizing, fumigating my school. I can even
so this
make
is 200 students only for subjects like English. Once it's split up, let's say geography.
Only in English they'll come together. Otherwise for physics, chemistry, accountancy, very less number children.
So you're saying this exams must go ahead. You're in favor. There are ways and means that you can do this.
Yes, and then we can reduce the gap in between exams. Suppose today if it is physics, tomorrow it can be accountancy and day after it can be history. So because students are really saturated, they had last 16 months they are studying for this. So we do not need a huge gap in between. Instead, we can have staggered exams. Like in July, suppose we have first round of exam. In August, we can have second round. Suppose if any child in July cannot appear, may have affected or something happens wrong to the child, can appear in the second test. So that's why if the exams are staggered, then every child will get some opportunity to appear. So, and then if duration can be reduced, this is another proposal which we gave, short duration of the exam. It can happen like 1.5 hour test with OMR can be downloaded and it can be evaluated in the school and marks can be uploaded. So but these are few suggestions.
But you put these suggestions because you believe it is imperative that the CBSE go ahead with these exams.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because see, this is exam when a child moves ahead with life. it decides the professional career also. So if I talk about our children, they are just waiting for this exam, and this certificate and mark sheet will be required in their life again and again. When they appear in, suppose, say, CAT exam or any other professional exam, they need it to move ahead. And even the handshake between school and the universities ahead. If the systems
you don't believe this can be internally assessed?
It's a different thing. For class 10th, we are assessing internally because there is a standardized practice from CBSE, which we have got, that we have to conduct certain exams, and we have done that. In class and 10th class, they will be continuing in school, class 11 and 12. But this is class 12 exam is defining, because after that, all children may not go for higher education. So this certificate, this mark sheet is very, very essential.
So you have looked at the option of internal assessments, but you've taken that for class 10. You do not believe it can, the same holds for class 12.
It's not the same.
All right. We actually have some students. We have Riddhi, a class 12 student of Sardar Patel School in Delhi, joining us. Riddhi, what's your view on this? Because there are many students who have been concerned about the fact that, you know, they may be bringing the virus home if they get exposed while they're at exams to their parents or to their grandparents.
You know, there is a very big problem of this, that whether the protocols will be followed or not. You know, we cannot ensure. We had, when the wave was not on peak, we had our school exams done in school offline, and school took all the measures they could, but still children do not listen that much. It is very difficult to ensure that protocols will be followed, and if 200 children collect at one place, will the school give us guarantee, will the centers give us a guarantee that, you know, all the protocols will be followed? So that is the question, which is very, we need the answer to, like, what will be, what
would
happens?
you like these exams to go ahead? The government is to take a decision on this by the 1st of next month.
We need a decision as soon as possible. You know, it's been, I think, more than a year. It's been 14 months since we're in 12th. There are 2 batches of 12th now, 12.1 and 12.2.0. You know, can you imagine the situation the teachers, the students, all of us are facing? And the whole year went by. They keep telling us, you had the whole year to study. You could have studied the whole year. My question is, what was the CBSE doing the whole year? Couldn't they come up with an alternative scheme to mark us? If a situation like this arrives, like the situation which has arrived now, with the assumption that everything would have been okay. 2 months ago, we were prepared to give the exam. Schools were ready. We had our pre-boards done. We had our roll numbers given. Everything was ready, but nobody thought about this unprecedented situation. You know, it is very, I think, on all stakeholders, it is very difficult. Even the CBSE must be feeling, you know,
so I hear the frustration in your voice. I think some of you students are like, one way or the other, take a decision, because you've just been hanging in the middle of nowhere in no man's land for so long. All right. Kavita Das, Kavita, you know, student health, safety matters, not just of students, also of teachers like you. You have your teachers who would have to be invigilating or being there during these exams. But the situation also getting political. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, for example, has tweeted again today saying, why are we not learning our lessons? Also the concern, she points out, that this wave shows that children are vulnerable to new strains. So given all of this, where do you stand on this matter? The exams should go ahead, and if so, why?
Sarah, thank you. You know, when you invited me, you said something very important, that we have to consider children not only in the metro city, but also outside. So there are two things to look at.
Kavita, let's just, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off right now. Let's just reconnect to Kavita Das so that we can all hear her properly. We have Sarika Sharma joining us. She's a parent of a child waiting to take her class 12 exams. Sarika, I know that we parents joke that they're also tested along with their kids in the board years. That's in a normal time, and this time especially so, even more so.
Absolutely, Sarah. I think this has been unprecedented for all of us. I think what's very cool as a parent, as Ricky, said 2 months ago, before the second wave, that we were still in a position where we could have looked at the boards. But at this point, kind of number, the kind that region and the virulence of the second wave, it's frightening for me to think that my child is going out there. And there's one said for students to manage sanitization or protocol. But the point...
Sorry, we're having trouble even with Charika's line. Apologies. Let's go back to Kavita Das and reconnect with Charika, please. Ma'am Das, sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just saying that when you invited me, something very pertinent. You not need to look at the metro, but to look at the urban as well, right? If you're looking at this, you have to look at two criteria. You have to look at numbers and safety of children. And on the other hand, you have that we need a fair system, objective system. Now, internal, it doesn't always work. Our experience teaches us that it's not always fair. And for in the long run, the children will be affected when it comes to their admission into universities. We have to find a medium which is going to be fair on both sides of children, maintaining their safety, maintaining objectivity.
Apologies again. Do we have Dr. Shiny Matthew? Dr. Singh? All right, so let's go across. So we have Dr. Singh joining us. He's the headmaster of the Doon School. Dr. Singh, I hope we'll be able to hear you clearly. Let me give it a shot. You're not a CBSE school. You have an IB system. So how are other boards managing?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for having me here, first of all. And it's a wonderful topic to debate on today. In fact, I'm not only in a council school, I'm also an IGCSE school and also an IB school. So when I'm talking about two international boards in the school, as well as an Indian council school, of course, we also fall under the Indian curriculum. That means the board which we are facing is going to be more or less on the lines what will be on the CBSE. Yes, when I talk from the two perspectives, one, we see that my council boys and girls who are yet to take an exam are totally in a dilemma. They are not very sure what will happen to them because CBSE is definitely deliberating, but the council is very quiet at this moment. But then we understand that some decision would be taken with the council also. But having said that, I'm very impressed with the way the IB and the IGCSE had conducted. IGCSE for A form, that is what we call 10th class, finished in month of February and March because we took the March series. But the June series, which was supposed to happen in the May end and June first week, did not really happen, but they had a wonderful backup plan. So by the time the pandemic hit us and the second strain, which was very, very difficult to, which we all know what we are going through, but they were so prepared. They had a formula ready. They had already devised how they have to be uploading. And I'm surprised that when we are talking about this, on 25th, the IGCSE is declaring the examination results. Where IB is concerned, we were all taking the exam route. But having said that, the Asian head office was keeping a very close eye on India as well as on Asian other countries. Now, they were very sure what is the situation in India. Much in advance, I must tell you, Sarah, they took a very early call of saying the pandemic is going to have a real effect on the students. We may not be able to conduct the exams. So they took a call of no exam route. But when they took the no exam route, my IB boys and girls were also equally worried what will happen to the future. But they had a very robust, I must tell you, combination of how to devise the predicted grades. So they had already come with a beautiful model. Now, this is a model, what I'm talking about IB, which is not random. This is a model which they based on a historical data of 3 years. They collected it from various schools in Asia, as well as of the world, and they collected this data from 2017 onwards and gave a customized prediction to schools on each subject. Now, when I look at that formula, it looks very practical to me. It's a combination of two. It's a combination of a student would have achieved in a normal exam day using their teacher predicted grade. Plus, they also made a combination of their coursework. That has 3 components, the extended SAT, OK, IAs. Now, both the components would be put together, and whatever the average would come, the child would be getting that average grade. Now, there's a lot of historical data evidence to this. There is already a research on this. So when they were taking an exam route, they also were preparing themselves on a backup plan. They also had a supplement plan to say, if there is no exam route, what would they? They should not come to a road end. They should not have any sort of a problem. So they had a backup plan, extremely important, ready for them. And we did not see any problem with the IB students, or as well as for the IGCSE students. The only thing what I'm worried about is, if I'm talking only about exams, we are keeping a very large component, Sarah, about the day schools. What about the residential schools? How will the children travel from different parts of the country and of the world? I have children coming from Singapore, from America, from England, from Canada, all over. They are okay still in India. They are waiting what will happen. But they have to come back. It's going to be different logistics for the residential schools. It's easy to say we'll have physical exams, but physical exam in a residential schools will be a challenge.
Similarly, it would be a challenge for logistics and, the access to the internet for rural areas. Ma'am Acharya, Dr. Acharya, could this not also be implemented for the CBSE board? How does this affect students who live in rural areas if the board decided not to hold these exams?
I think for the rural population or students who are studying in rural areas or semi-urban areas, it is all the more important to conduct the CBSE board exam, because many of them do not go for higher education. Many of them go for ITIs or 5-year teacher training, or go for special educator course or nursing course. So for them, this certificate and mark sheet is very, very important. So that's why in rural area, the class 12 board exam is all the more significant as we compare with the urban areas, like a minuscule of students go for international universities and all. Even though we give predicted score, it has to be corroborated with the CBSE score later on. I had this, experience of having a child who by mistake CBSE score she got 69, actually it was 96. So in Oxford University, her admission got cancelled, and then we gave her re-evaluated mark. Then only her admission got final. So predicted score also we are giving our student. They have taken admission, but it has to be corroborated by CBSE score. And similarly, students who will go for Delhi University and other universities, if we talk about entrance exam, that JEE is happening, NEET is happening, similarly college entrance exam can happen. But in SRCC, if 1 lakh students they are applying, how can physically entrance exam happen? Because we do not have any online mode. If we talk about rural areas, we know how difficult it was to reach out to the last child. So that's why online platform, at this present scenario, maybe CBSE will think up a better policy and we will be better ready next year. But at the current scenario, I think conducting the exam for academic welfare, if the situation permits, if positivity rate goes down and everything goes well, then it is the solution.
All right, lots of ifs here. Kavita C. Das, maybe we'll be third time lucky. Go ahead, you were saying.
Well, let me check. Can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly, yes.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with Dr. Sudha in the sense that, you need objectivity when it comes to the exams, because these results are very, very vital for children for their future. How are you going to ensure that if you have online exams? We all know that the online exams don't really reflect the children's real capabilities. There is a lot of freedom in online exams, which will permit a variation of marks that will not be fair, right? At the same time, as she said, when you come to the rural areas, there are many children without connectivity.
Yeah.
What are you going to do if you have online exams for them? We have to have something that will ensure justice and fairness for the children when they finally appear for these examinations. Scenarios can be set up where, children can appear in safety, especially if they're in their own schools. We do ensure, and because it's our own kids, we'll make sure that they're very, very safe and bring parents on board to help us to work out some kind of protocols which will ensure that the parents are also satisfied that the children are safe at the time of giving their examinations. But until we can find a system that is absolutely objective, it's going to pose a problem to have any other way of doing the exam.
Sharika Sharma, the authorities, teachers saying that they will come up with a system that will satisfy parents too. And as they point out, the teachers themselves are also parents of children, are also putting themselves on the line. Your concerns as a parent?
Sarah, I understand that. I appreciate Dr. Acharya and Dr. Das's point of view. The thing is that I don't have any control over the ecosystem that the kid is coming from. You know, there are so many children. The school might take all the precautions that they need to do, but at the end of the day, the ecosystem that the child is coming from is not in my control or in the school's control. If there is a parent, there is somebody in the home who is asymptomatic, has COVID, there is no way to control what that kid is bringing into the school and what he or she is exposing the rest of the classroom to. And I understand the internal thing, but the problem is that here we're not just talking about a level playing ground. We're talking about health. We're talking about safety. We're not just talking about a notional thing about internals and kids cheating, etc. It's very frustrating as a parent of a child who's actually diligent and has not cheated. But will I choose that over the safety of my child? Absolutely not. And I'm sure that can be extrapolated into the different as well. Whether it's the rural areas, because all some historical here, right?
Sharika, what would you suggest?
I would actually, as a parent, given the current prediction of a third wave and a third wave that's hard, is hit very hard, I would think that use internal as the benchmark.
You're not willing, though, for your child to sit out a year, make it a gap year?
No, I'm not that. I don't think about people be comfortable with that either. Because technically, Sarah, like in a school where my child goes, she's already been grade 12 for 8 months.
Okay.
I'm talking about.
We're losing your line again, unfortunately, Sharika Sharma. Thank you, though. Let's bring in a student. We have Harsh joining us. So many students opposing this. Harsh, what are your concerns?
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Go ahead, Harsh.
Okay. So my concern is about that board cancellation is board physically taking this board exam is fully not, fruitful for students as well as parents.
Why? Kya problem hai?
Because it's not about student safety. It's also for parent safety.
So, can you give us an example? You've personally gone through this. You've had friends who've sat for exams. Why do you feel this way?
Yes, I have friends who have gone through this. My very close friend is going through these problems. His father is admitted to a hospital since a month, and he can't study at home. Like he's fully broken his path for study.
और आपके फैमिली में भी किसी को कोविड हुई है in these past few months?
No, ma'am. भगवान की कृपा से सब सही है.
I'm so glad to hear that. It seems increasingly rare nowadays. Do we have Dr. Shiny Matthew? Kavita Das, then if you could, we're going to be running out of time, unfortunately, but could you sum up for us, there must be compulsions off the board. We've seen so much opposition to this over the past year, this stop the exams hashtag trending, political parties speaking up on this. Still, the board seems to be quite focused about going ahead. What are the compulsions of the board? There must be some if they are standing so firmly behind the view that these exams must be held.
Well, I'm only in a position to make an assumption, but I assume that they are looking at fairness in the system and objectivity, which as of now is only possible through these exams. Of course, you see, because children were not prepared for the fact that the internals might be counted. So their results are not really reflecting what they're capable of. And the internal exams also have been affected because they had to do their board exam. They had to do their entrance exams they were preparing for. So they don't take their pre-board so, as seriously as they would have if they had known in advance that they were going to be counted. So these results, if we could go by purely internal marks, might not really reflect what the children are capable of. And I think the board, being aware of this, is probably looking at the maximum objectivity, as well as the fact that it's very difficult for children in the rural areas to do an online exam. It's various factors which have to be taken into account. So, of course, we can never forget the security and safety of our children first.
So, not an easy decision. Many aspects to this. Many considerations to try and understand. And it's probably going to be difficult for them to come up with a decision, a solution that satisfies everybody, so many stakeholders here. Thank you all for joining us on We the People tonight. We'll of course continue to cover this story in depth on NDTV throughout this week. Thank you. Bye-bye.